Greetings and salutations. My name is Schwahn and welcome to the channel. We have some more reaction content for you, and today we are actually rechecking out some things regarding Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn, the upcoming action RPG from the makers of Ashen. Ashen was a 1.5A level Soulsian game that I've personally not gotten to experience, but I've heard very mixed things about. Some people love it a lot, some people don't. We checked out the initial announcement trailer for this a while back, and it looked really, really awesome. The level of polish, the setting, the theme, the tone felt really good. The gameplay looked pretty stellar, and it looked like something that was kind of like halfway between like a God of War game and a Soulsian game, set into a Wild West steampunk-ish scenario with demons. That was a lot, and it was a lot, and they've been maintaining a level of communication on the continued development of the game with these dev diaries, these behind-the-scenes showcases. They've had two of these now, one that came out in March and another one that just came out this month in May, and I would love to see where they're at on this game, because we were all very entranced by the initial showing for Flintlock, and so I'm just going to let them start talking so that we can see where they're at and maybe get some more little bits and nuggets about this game.
Flintlock fantasy is this genre that's built on black powder and technology and old gods and dark magic.
Pause. Hold on. Is that what this is called? Flintlock fantasy? Oh my god. So, okay, the reason that I'm breaking, my mind hurts right now. I have been looking for the way to define what Warhammer Fantasy's genre is, because they use flintlock weapons, black powder, some steam engine style shit, but they also got swords, armor, magic, fantasy, mumbo jumbo. I'm gonna swirl the clouds and cause. Is it called Flintlock Fantasy? Is that what it's called? That's such a good name. I'm pretty sure this dude just made it up just now because his game's called Flintlock, but goddamn do I love that term. Please continue.
The door to the afterlife is in the city of Dawn, and so this is where all the undead are coming from that populate the world. It's also where the gods have taken over, and humans have essentially been kicked out.
Then the advent of gunpowder has changed the face of war, given humanity an opportunity to fight back against these gods and magic.
And so they're trying to get back in, they're trying to take the city back, they're trying to close the door to the afterlife.
Noor is inspiration. She's a strong woman of color, and she is taking no prisoners.
She is out to kill the god who killed her father.
Is that the god? Holy hell.
She joins up with Inky, and the two of you essentially carve a trail through this world and find a way to kill these gods.
There's quite a lot of conflict happening. That feeling of like being immersed in this grungy trench war, I think, with cannons going off all around you is, I think it's pretty intense, and I'm really excited for players to see that.
I'm super excited that Flintlock is going to be one of those to show that it's not just one side of the world or one person can be the hero. You know, there's many heroes with many faces.
I'm really just excited for players to meet Noor and to meet Inky. I think it's going to be an amazing journey to go on for all of our people that have worked on it.
Yeah, this game looks super cool.
Exciting ride.
Okay, so that's one of them. And then here's that was the one back in March. Here's the one back just now from a couple weeks ago.
Hi, my name's Robert Bruce. I'm the art director at A44. We're creating huge worlds. We really want to encourage exploration.
Please be careful with that huge world shit.
To peaks, in castles. There's always something hidden, and we want to reward those players who seek that out.
Flintlock is an open world, but we divide it into 3 big zones. Each zone has their own unique environment and architectural style.
That
Okay.
goes down to the details. So
So it's like the city, the suburbs, and the wilds.
And the people who live there. So really thinking about the history of a place, and there's a lot of influences. Finding that balance of what's the story for this unique area? How does it tie in with the characters and our goals as the player?
We really want to bring the gorgeous New Zealand native environment to the players that are around the world. So we did a lot of research on New Zealand geography, native trees, plants, and even the local creatures such as Pokeko and the moa.
It's been a fun journey, like even looking at our main character as an example has gone through so many revisions, and now we finally have our Noah.
Yeah, they look
Always want to be
fantastic.
on the pulse of what's new and what can help us as a small studio. So metahuman is something we really looked into, and how we can bring our characters to life in animation.
Meta-human?
Gods are actually quite rare in the game. We want every encounter to be very special. They're the influence for this entire world and their effect.
We created different styles for each god to identify their
I thought he initially said that guns were really
When the
rare.
players meet a god, they are physically huge. This kind of communicates to the players that the gods will be really challenging enemies, and how tough the battle is going to be. I'm excited for the players to explore the world and interact with the environment. It's really beautiful.
I'm super proud of like what a small studio has achieved. I'm just excited for players to see something new and unique.
So they commented that gods are really rare, and one of the things that is unfortunate is we commented at the beginning of this video, as well as when we first checked out this game, that it had a Soulsian feel to it. It was a little bit faster, and it definitely seemed to be leaning more towards like the God of War direction in terms of how it ultimately plays out. But one of the things that I feel like is very unfortunate with modern video game development is the lack of enemy variety, and it's something that, as I've been playing through God of War 2018, has been such a drag on me and my experience in it. And I know that enemy models take a lot of work, and designing new fights takes a lot of work, and it's one of the things that's like, there are some games that are defined by their boss encounters. This is one of the defining things for a lot of the Soulsian genre as a whole, is the boss design and the idea of learning them and being able to beat them and the accomplishment that coincides with them. But when it comes to these smaller studios, I feel like so often, because they are limited by their size, what ends up happening is that they have to cut down on the number of bosses to the point that it can feel so sparse and leave you wanting more in a very unsatisfied way. Because, like, one game that I'll use as an example, we weren't able to get all the way through it because of the pandemic, but The Surge, it only in its base game had 5 bosses, which was really a tragedy because the game had such a impeccable design and concept to it. And the bosses that they did have was good. They were well-designed, enjoyable bosses. But because the bosses didn't function in the exact same way that all of the rest of the enemies did, they were of unique design, which required work in terms of encounter design, enemy design, set design, stage, etc., and so on. And I understand that because they were smaller, they weren't able to put more in. They did get 5 more for a total of 10 through the DLC, but it just felt very sparse, and it felt unsatisfying because you can only fight basic enemies for so long, even if those enemies are varied, where you're ready for the next actual challenge to tackle down. And when they're talking about the rarity of the gods sound like they're going to be the memorable, enjoyable, puzzle-style, combat pattern memorizing encounters, right? Which is fine. But I would have rather them maybe made this world a little bit smaller and then used the smaller world to allow them time to make more memorable encounters. I'm saying this without knowing it, with having no actual information on the genuine size of the world beyond what they just described, and that they described bosses as rare. Now, not bosses. They described gods as rare. There could be non-god bosses, and there could be a decent number of bosses in the game because only the gods are what they mentioned, and I hope that that's the case. These are the developers of Ashen. Ashen didn't have a ton of bosses, but Ashen was also a smaller game than even Flintlock is, and so I'm not holding it against them because they were hyper indie when they were making Ashen, and now they've got a little bit of support, a little bit of money, and a little bit of foundation under their feet, and you can definitely tell they're trying to go bigger, trying to go better. The game is on a whole new level of visual fidelity, quality, style, polish, everything, and I really hope that that carries forward into a game that is larger. And I don't just strictly mean larger in terms of the world. I am worried, as Eve pointed out, that a huge world can be good and very bad. Elden Ring falls towards the worst side. Dynasty Warriors on the very bad side. There's a lot of not great open world style games. Mostly because the worlds are either copy and pasted things like you see in a lot of Bethesda games, where, like, especially like Far Cry, where it's a bunch of different bandit camps, or like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where a lot of it was very samey. You're just checking off boxes, or it's very empty, and very empty worlds are probably even worse than checkboxy worlds, because then it's just vast opens of nothing, and you can see this in games like Biomutant. And so I hope that they do this well, because I feel like so many, even very large studios, are doing these big worlds very poorly. But I'm still very much looking forward to this game. It still comes out this year. We don't have a release date yet, though, and this game would need to come out in the next 6 months, really, for it to fit within. I mean, I guess they could push it into December, but I bet we will see another trailer for this across the June showcases, because we got the State of Play on like June 2nd, we got the Summer Games Fest on June 9th, the Xbox Bethesda showcase on like June 12th. So we got a lot of stuff coming in terms of like big set piece announcements at the beginning of June, and we might see it there. And with an actual date attached to it. I hope so. I would guess maybe the State of Play, because currently, even still, this is the May trailer we're paused on. That's still only a PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 logo down there at the bottom. But thoughts and questions for another time and another day. We're going to move on to the next one, though. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like. If you want to catch future videos, please subscribe to the channel. If you have thoughts on Flintlock or Ashen or game design in general, please leave them down in the comments below. I'd love to talk to you about it. If you want to keep the conversation elsewhere, two great places to do so are Discord and Twitter. And speaking of Discord, we actually have a channel dedicated to these reactions where you can place links of your own that we can check out together live on stream, because we do stream 4 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, and I would love to see you there. Now, if you do go watch one of the other videos on the channel, or if I see you in the live stream, thank you and enjoy.